Thanks for watching ERi-TV, dear viewers. Welcome to this special edition of Open Mic. We are here at the National Confederation of Eritrean Workers, where the National Conference on Food Safety has kicked off, and the central banner, working together to ensure food safety, safe and nutritious food for everyone, everywhere. We will be bringing you excerpts of different interviews we have conducted with the presenters and the organizers of the conference, so please do stay tuned with us as we continue with the rest of the interviews for this evening.
Okay, my name is Dr. Asmara. I am assistant professor at the Eritrea College of Medicine and Health Sciences. You know, the importance of this conference is first and foremost to create awareness among the people in general, and also the both the authorities and the general population about food safety. Food safety is very important because food, although it is it nourishes our body, we cannot survive without food, but food should be safe. When we talk about food safety, we have to keep food safe from the farm to the consumer, or to the table, as they say. Okay, at the farm there are so many contaminants. There are pesticides. There are the artificial fertilizers, and also the heavy metals from the soil and from the plants. And then, of course, after that, the harvesting. After harvesting, there is transportation. If it is not transported safely, it could also be contaminated in during transportation, because it could be transported with different types of chemicals and biological hazards also. And then in the market also should be free from contaminants, because there are so many contaminants in the market as well. And then finally, of course, there are two places. One is the public food establishments, food serving establishments also, and the individual home, the household. So at both this place also, at the time of the consumption also, the food should be prepared, hygienically. The people who prepare food, we call them food handlers, also should be hygienic. They should know all the hygienic practices of food preparation. So, and then, of course, both at home and at these establishments. So this is the main importance of this food safety conference.
Okay, my name is Beta Saida Swatlab. I'm from the Regulatory Service Department. And to see your question is, this conference is regarding with the food safety. This to help to ensure the safety of food and quality of food in Eritrea.
Okay, my name is Marhaw Debesai. I'm a pharmacist in charge of quality management of the National Medicines and Food Administration in Eritrea. And today I'm here attending as a presenter in the food safety conference that was organized by the Ministry of Agriculture. The aim of such conference is to bring all stakeholders together in the same ground to share the understanding on the importance of food safety and what they can do together in order to reach the goals of food safety and food regulation in general. My paper is specifically about the roles of stakeholders in food safety regulation, and it focuses on bringing together all the ministers that claim to be involved in regulating food and try to analyze the current situation in relation to the other situations in the African continent and around the world by bringing some exemplary systems in the world and trying to compare and contrast the condition in our country and see the ways forward on how to handle food regulation in the future. So I would like to emphasize to policymakers, the higher officials in this meeting to realize that getting together in such conferences and creating such platforms in the future will be the basis for harmonizing the systems that are linked to one function like food regulation. And I hope to emphasize the importance of repeating such conferences in annual or biannual frequency.
I am Asmara from the Eritrean Standards Institution. I am the certification head of the Eritrean Standards Institution. And the importance of this conference is food should be safe. If it is not safe, it brings a lot of disaster. And at last it could be fatal. Many people can die if food is not safe. And this conference is done by many partners because food safety cannot be assured only by one institution. If every institution plays its role, then we can assure that food will be safe from farm to fork. In the primary production, you have to assure the quality of the products that you are producing. Then in the production process, the same thing should go. And for this, you need laboratories also to see whether the food is safe or not, whether it is contaminated or not. And this is the relevance of this conference.
If food is unsafe, people also not secure, and its health is at risk. So, conference on food safety is very critical for the public, for everyone, because if you know the concern of the food, people will protect from that concern or from that risk. So, organizing such conference is very important, and it should be strengthened for the future to aware the whole society of Eritrea in consuming the food what he eats, because the food he eats is determine the health of the individual. If the food is risk or it has something wrong, the people who consume it is at risk. So knowing the factors that affect the food is very important in order to protect itself and to be confident to eat for the people, for the food that he eats.
Foodborne diseases, they're very common. They're, globally they are staggering, and a lot of people are suffering from these foodborne illnesses. My just topic is not only to address food safety issue, but also its interconnection with the antimicrobial resistance. So basically, we have seen the burden of, in my presentation, we have explained the burden of foodborne illnesses, along with its risk on antimicrobial resistance. The problem is a dual burden. The problem is it's not only we are encountering foodborne illnesses, but the illnesses or the pathogens that cause this, be it the bacteria, virus, or parasites, those that are causing these foodborne illnesses, they are also becoming resistant to treatments or to antibiotics. If they are becoming resistant to antimicrobials, it means we don't have the weapons to just prevent or treat these disease conditions. So basically my presentation tried to address the key drivers. I mean, what does the global burden look like? What are the key drivers for the foodborne illnesses and antimicrobial resistance? And what are the mitigation strategies that we need to have in place in the country?
As food is a basic needs, it's very significant. Without food we cannot survive. And nowadays, this food safety, this food is endangered because of too much impacts. It can be environmental impacts, which can come from chemical and pollution, and also from climate convention. So we should have to be aware of that, and should have to ready to respond for that.
I was invited here to give a presentation on a project that we did with our students some times back. And it's basically on storage structures that most farmers use in relation to how they implicate on food safety issues. Now, this paper is about the storage structures, and we found that in most respondents that we interviewed, the majority of them were using these traditional structures. And also we also found that these structures were easily affected or contaminated by either insect pests or microbial pests. And therefore, when these insect pests infect the crops, what they do, they create entry points for the fungal pathogens to get rid. These fungal pathogens, some of them have been implicated in food safety issues. For example, Aspergillus, Fusarium, and even Penicillium. Some of these fungal pathogens produce toxins, and the toxins that they produce, for example, aflatoxin is a chemical that cannot be easily broken. So you will find it in the food materials that we eat.
Food safety in Eritrea starts during the Italian colonization and continues to the Ethiopian colonization. But the legal, formal food safety inspection in Eritrea starts with the establishment of the RSD, which is the Regulatory Service Department of the Ministry of Agriculture, in 2003. This department ensures the quality and safety of food in Eritrea in slaughterhouses, through its inspectors in slaughterhouses, in processing plants, in marketing places, and in entry points. The RSD uses different legal instruments such as legal acts, internal guidelines, checklists, manuals to ensure the food safety. And in addition to that, this RSD organizes awareness-raising meetings with farmers, stakeholders and processors. Thus, processors, farmers, and stakeholders, they improve their knowledge and understand on the importance of hygiene, good agricultural practices, and good manufacturing practices.
My name is Habtam Kinane. I am from Ministry of Health. The significance of this conference is that we know that food is very essential for our survival, for nutritional support, but its safety is more important than its availability, because if food is consumed and if it is contaminated, it can result into many illnesses, even death. So the significance of this conference is it's important for the provision of safe food by collaborating all the line ministries together to just give the customer or the population safe food. So the significance is a very important conference.
The aim of this study, or the objective study, was, to know the heavy metals status on the both the Mainefe and Tokar, reservoirs, which are the sources of drinking water for the Asmara population. Okay, so the Asmara population should have this safe water, so we should know the status. And my study concentrated on heavy metals because they are highly toxic and highly dangerous. They are causes to serious adverse health effects. They could be causes of cancer, teratogenicity, and also they could cause damage to several organs in our body. So, and one of the reasons is that the Asmara, surrounding is highly mineralized, and these, heavy metals are also in abundance in this area. So we have to know the status so that this awareness, creates both in the public also, and especially the concerned authorities, so that they know the status and they take the necessary measures to protect the population from these hazards.
Working individually, you can solve certain problems. But if we coordinate our works together, what I cannot solve, the other institution or ministry can solve it. So partnership in food safety is very important. And that's why we say food safety is everybody's business. Even if food is produced safely in the factory level, even the consumer should be aware of how to use it. Even the consumer is involved in making the food safe. If you are told to keep it in a refrigerator, you have to keep it there. If you have to use it by heating, or is it ready to eat food, you have to follow what is in the label, the instructions given there. So that's why we say from farm to fork.
There's a complex interplay between environment and food safety. Without a clean environment, you cannot assure your food. And also during food processing, unless you treat your waste, you cannot create a safe environment. So there's a complex interplay between them. So we need to invest to protect our environment. So in line with that, food will be saved. And during food processing, unless you treat your waste, you will pollute your environment. So during food processing, you should have to pass the best strategies to protect that food.
First, we need to have stringent regulatory authority, stringent regulations across all the sectors. First, we need to have a good multi-sectoral coordination mechanism that could govern, the efforts of the different ministries and stakeholders in this mission. And the other is there should be the access to antimicrobials to the public, to the healthcare professionals. It should be limited. We should use antibiotics where they are really required. Otherwise, the problem that we are facing now is the farmers, the consumers, the community, they are using antimicrobials right and left without the need for prescription. So we need to change these practices. And the other is we need to have good surveillance system in place. That is the surveillance that tracks the prevalence or occurrence of these resistant pathogens, the occurrence of foodborne illnesses, and also the surveillance of these resistant pathogens and their susceptibility to antibiotics and so on. So if we build all these, and if we just, on top of it, what we can do is we need to establish a good, antimicrobial stewardship program, and then we need to raise the awareness. So by doing that, I guess we can play a good role in minimizing the problem.
The farmers know, and around 26%, or rather 27%, said that contamination starts from the field. So why is it that happening? What is the reason? Some of the reasons that makes that happen is sometimes farmers delay in harvesting the crops. For example, the weevils will attack in the crops. Aspergillus species will attack them from the fall. So some of the things that we can do is to harvest the crops timely, then dry them to the minimum bare moisture levels. In this case, for maize or corn, in this case, we do 11 to 12 moisture content. So if you dry the maize to that moisture content, then it will be very difficult for these pathogens to do what? To contaminate or attack. Then at the same time, we also need to change our storage structures. For example, we do go for airtight storage. For example, the barrels. When they put the phone or bultuk, all these cereal grains, into the barrel and then they airtight store it, then this insect pests do not get the oxygen to breathe. There is accumulation of CO2 within the storage system, and this will affect their living in these storage systems.
Personally, I have observed that the problems, they're very similar. We are facing similar problems, and we are trying to solve the problems differently. There is no solidarity in terms of fighting the problem. Different ministries, different sectors, different stakeholders, they are doing their own part. We don't have any collaborative approach to just handle the problem. This is the main problem that we have observed, and from this problem the recommendation is that all the stakeholders, including the line ministries and other stakeholders, they should work together to fight what we call the food safety issues. If this is probably the first time we are having such level of confidence, conference, but in the future, maybe in the upcoming year, what I really expect is this multi-sectoral coordination mechanism should not be an issue.
This conference was really important. It is important to do this conference every year, even annually or 6 months. It is important. The importance of this conference is to connect the stakeholders with the RSD, with the Minister of Agriculture, to improve the ensuring of the agri-food the safety of food and the quality of food?
As we all, the utilization of those food and drink catering establishment nowadays is increasing. According to the records of Ministry of Tourism in 2018, 11,260 persons were utilizing per day in southeast Asmara. So this huge number is health and well-being depends on the sanitary source of those food and drink catering establishments. So the studying of this, the assessment of those food and drink catering establishment is timely. What time demands? After doing the research, we found out that the sanitary source of those food and drink catering establishment was poor, especially where the food is prepared in the kitchen, as well as the storing way of the food, both the processed and the raw food, and the food handlers' personal behavior were found to be a little bit. There were pitfalls in the handlers' behavior regarding the food hygiene. So our finding was that there is a need to impose some regulations, some collective acts on the food safety provisions of this food and drink catering establishments.
Okay. Standards give you a threshold whether the food is safe or not. So unless you have a standard, you cannot say this food is safe or unsafe. So the standard for every product, be it agricultural product, be it processed food, you should have a standard. This is the relevance of the standard. And testing, unless you test and see that it contains the necessary quality factors, whether it is free from contamination, is it microbiologically contaminated or not, unless you know all these things, you cannot say that the food is safe or unsafe. And it is for this purpose that we need testing. And the testing facilities nowadays should be more developed than the previous ones, because we have to give the test results quickly. Being late also brings its own problems. And that's why you need to be equipped with this latest sophisticated equipments. And you have to, if you have to run them, you have to train personnel, you have to have all the necessary things in place.
Generally, our focus has been on quantity of food that we harvest. But ideally, the food that we eat has to be safe. It has to be safe. So this conference here is very timely and on time, and therefore there is need for us to make farmers aware that there is an interrelationship between the insects and the pathogens, and there are certain things that we can do to ensure that the losses associated with these pests are completely reduced, and therefore our foods that we eat are safe and therefore are not contaminated to the levels that will cause us pains and diseases. For example, aflatoxins have been implicated in causing cancer diseases. How do we know that people suffering from cancer are actually the causal agent is some of these microbes? So this conference is like an awareness step, because I think we are farmers here. They can go back and tell the farmers that this is what should happen. And then it is also important that we introduce certain technologies. For example, we call them amatic bags. They are like meshamai, but inside there is a very thick polythene bag that you tie, then you again tie the meshamai that is covered outside, and therefore the oxygen levels within that storage structure is completely reduced.
At farmers level, of course, first we need to raise their awareness to use, to practice hygienic, to introduce hygienic practices at all levels. And the other is they should refrain from using antimicrobials for growth promotion and also for other purposes without consultation from qualified healthcare professionals. Yeah, that's the main thing that they should do.
Such conferences should continue because as we said, food is, one of the important, or essential, elements of life. Okay, without food, we cannot survive. Any living thing cannot survive. So food, as we said, should be safe in order to, keep well-being and health and well-being, and also for survival. So the people, the authorities, everybody should be aware about what type of food, what contaminants, how food is contaminated, how food is spoiled, and how to preserve food, from contamination and from the, diseases. So that's the importance. And my message is, this is not, concern of the authorities only. Everybody should be concerned about food safety. So, because it's for all of us, food is for all of us.
The whole idea here is, it's a common practice, even where I come from. Farmers will get the rotten maize, and they will throw them to the animals. But because these are very long structures, they are not easily broken up. So when a cow eats contaminated grains, it will give milk that is contaminated. It will give meat that is contaminated. And we eat meat, we eat sega, we eat rugo, and eggs, and therefore these things are transferred from the animals to even to the infants. You can imagine that. So the best approach in this case would be we could find alternative uses for these contaminated products. For example, there is this thing that we use to make briquettes, charcoal briquettes. Yeah, so we could use them for making charcoal briquettes so that we lessen the effect of these products, in terms of producing toxins, and then we consume them. Yeah, I think it is important that going forward we make farmers aware, because this year summer period I also had my students, last year that is, I had my students do an awareness project on mycotoxins, and the results that we found were not amazing. Nearly over 80% of the farmers did not know that the green substances that they see on the crop are actually aspergillus species growing on the crops. And then they just use them. Actually, they were selling them to unsuspected farmers. For example, groundnuts. Right? Groundnut is commonly affected by aspergillus species. And when you eat it, you can actually feel the bitterness in that groundnuts. People will buy. You go to it, you get to this, and when you store them together, the concentration of these microbes continue to increase within the storage systems.
Okay, as you have said, we are late for conducting such a conference because food needs to be safe 30 years back, and it needs to be safe now. So we are late. But it's also good that we have done it even after this so many years. And as you have seen, a lot of papers were presented, and all these papers were stressing on cooperation, that food safety is everybody's business. So inculcating this type of thought in the minds of such a big conference has its own role in trying to make food safer, starting from the farm. The Ministry of Agriculture will play its role in the farm, in the milk processing plants and the like. ESI will play its role in preparing the necessary standards, in conducting certification operations, and say that this product is safe, unsafe. And all the other laboratories, the fishery laboratory and the like, they can play their role. And if all of us play our role, then one way or the other, we are going to make food safe within very few years in Eritrea.
Okay. You know, if you come to the concept of mathematics, 1 + 1 = one. But we come to the concept of synergy or coordination, 1 + 1 is greater. So you can achieve more if you are coordinated. You know, our weaknesses are we have fragmented action plan, but for one action. So we invest and procure for one instrument for one action, you know. But if we come together, you know, there is a proverb: one draft horse can pull how much? 5,000 tons. But we come together, if they are yoked together, they can pull about 20,000 pounds, just 4 times. So, you know, coordination is very important now, and we call for that.
Ensuring safety and quality of agri-food, ensuring safety and quality of food is not only the role of the Minister of Agriculture, it is everybody's role. So everybody should participate in this role.
As I have mentioned before, food is necessary for our survival, but if its safety is more essential. So comprehending of different line ministries and different sectors is needed for the provision of some food, from its production to its consumption. So this conference aligns many ministries so that they can come with one aim. So to provide safe food to the population. So its importance is very nice, so it should continue.
You know, I would like to see a different approach in the next year. That is, instead of only having this year, it was more of familiarization. We are trying to learn from different sectors now, but next year we need to have a good multi-sectoral collaboration. There should be task forces, and I'm expecting, you know, true research papers to come the next year, and then to have data-driven decision-making at the end. Thank you so much.
The way forward in this is I have to actually appreciate the organizers of this conference. Food safety is a very important issue. In fact, it is fronted by FAO and World Food Programs. For example, WFP is so much involved, doing all analysis, and the food they buy has to meet certain standards. What I did not mention here is also that when these contaminated crops are gain the market, they will interfere with the you know, even internal trade and international trade. So going forward, I think we should actually make it, you know, be serious about this mold fungi, right? Awareness programs should be developed everywhere, especially to the rural-based farmers who do not know whether this is contaminated or not. We could create posters. We could come up with community programs where we go as a community, teach the farmers on the mold fungi and how they affect our health. That will be very key, because we must do it for the farmers and the people who consume the foods. As for the conference, I believe it is just a start of one of them. I believe that we are maybe annually or biannually we can have such conference to encourage people to do research based on these pathogens. Again, we should not stop there. We should go further and come up with the standards, Eritrean standards, that the allowable limits for mycotoxins. Then we can also introduce these modern storage structures and distribute them to farmers. Or we can also use a system where the farmers can take them on credit, but later they pay when they get their harvests. So a small percentage of the harvest goes directly to to buy the storage, because it is important that they eat healthy food. Everyone, even for us, you might not be a farmer, of course, but you eat on daily basis what farmers produce. So you are never sure whether you are eating the right one or something that is contaminated. Yeah.
Dear viewers, that wraps up this week's special edition of our Open Mic program. Thank you for being with us, and enjoy the rest of the broadcast.